Planning a trip to Europe can seem like a daunting task, especially as a first timer, and even more so being from the Caribbean, and even more so if you're planning a solo trip. Selecting flights, choosing where to go, understanding what documents you would need, where to stay, how to get around. It may seem like a lot, but have no worries. I'm here today to share with you everything you need to know and guide you through planning your trip to Europe. Hi, I'm Keisha. Welcome to the Trini Will Travel. On this channel, you will find travel tips, experiences, especially from a Caribbean perspective. So if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. But for now, let's get to planning your trip to Europe. Firstly, the most important thing is let's get your documents out of the way. Of course, you need a passport, but also ensure that your passport is valid for 6 months beyond your planned date of return. So if you're planning to return, let's say July the 30th, ensure that your passport is valid until like December, January, because some places do check to ensure that your passport is not close to expiry, because if it is, they may deny you entry. Even if, like, let's say you get on a plane in Trinidad and you land in another country, they can deny you entry if you don't have enough months left on your passport. So just to be safe, ensure that your passport is valid for 6 months beyond the dates that you plan to travel. Also, on the topic of documents, visas. Do you need a visa to travel to Europe? The overall answer to that is no. I'm thinking popular countries that you may want to visit: Italy, Spain, Germany, France. As a CARICOM passport holder, you can travel to these countries visa-free for 90 days in a period of 180 days. Now, you have EU countries, and then you have the Schengen area. I actually have a blog post about the Schengen area. I could possibly also create a video. So comment down below if you want me to create a video talking about the Schengen area and the EU. But basically, we can access 27 of the European countries visa-free within a period of 180 days. And out of those 27 countries, I think the majority of the ones that we would want to visit is visa-free. Also, if you're not sure, on a page on my website, I actually have where you can check whichever country that you want to visit. You can check to see if you need to apply for a visa. So I'll link that page down below, so you can just enter if you're from Trinidad, St. Lucia, Barbados, wherever you're from, enter whichever passport that you have and then the country that you want to go to, and you'll be able to see if you need a visa or not and how long you could be there for without needing a visa. Now, I don't know if this might be the intimidating part for some of you, but the next few things comes down to planning a vacation, and I previously made a video on it, so it will be touching on some of those same points. How can you book the flights? How can you know the best way to get there? The main platforms that I use to monitor prices and see the best route is Skyscanner, Hopper, and Google Flights. So if you're not too committed as to where you want to go, but you probably want to see some of the cheapest places you can visit, you can use the Skyscanner Explore Everywhere feature, or you can also use Google Flights and put in a destination as Europe, so to see what are the options available to you. My best route that I always recommend is with KLM. KLM flies directly from Trinidad to Amsterdam. Amsterdam is like a hub for their flights, so they go to different European countries from Amsterdam. So basically your options are endless. There are also other routes through the US. If you don't have a US visa, then that's out of the question for you. There's another route where you pass through like South America, so Panama, those types of countries, and then you go to Germany, and then from Germany you can go to other places. But that option is a lot longer, also cheaper. And then Amsterdam, you pay a little more, but it's a little more convenient, especially maybe as a first-time traveler. You know, it's direct. You don't have anything much to worry about in terms of transferring airports. Another thing, if it's your first time traveling, let's say internationally, and you're worried about navigating the airports, I would say choose flights that have a connection time longer than 2 hours, or minimum 2 hours, so you're not too scared, you're not too flustered in terms of having to navigate the airport. What I would also say about the Amsterdam airport is that well, for one, you need to be careful because one, it's a silent airport, so they don't make announcements about flights. So one, you need to be vigilant, keep monitoring your flight number and the gate. But they also have a process at the security gate. So if the security line is long, they're going to call passengers whose flights are leaving within, I think, 15 to 20 minutes or half hour, if I remember correctly. They are efficient in that way. But anyway, that is going on another topic. But in terms of flights, monitor from Google Flights, Skyscanner, and Hopper. Now, getting around. Y'all, coming from the Caribbean, the first time I had to use like the metro, public transport, those types of things, I would say it was pretty intimidating. The first time I did that was in New York, and I would say in Europe it's a lot easier than it is in in Europe. It was a lot easier to use than in New York, and I figured it out in New York, so in Europe it was a breeze. Well, for Italy, I could say at least. But traveling into Europe, more than likely you may be visiting some major cities, so renting a car may not be an option unless you're planning to do like a road trip because there's traffic. So I would say public transport is a feasible option when traveling into Europe. And yes, understanding will take some time, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. A lot of the cities are very well connected. So basically from the airport there you can get transport to get into the city that you're going to, and from there you can make it to your accommodation pretty easily. So I would say don't worry about having to rent a car, don't worry about having to book taxis. I would say that the public transport is pretty reliable. Soon I'll be making a video specifically about Milan. But once you understand the workings of it, it's basically applicable to various cities. So if that's something that you're interested in seeing how to navigate the public transport system, go ahead and subscribe so you see when I post that video. Accommodation. Of course, you would need somewhere to stay. Now, booking accommodation, I made a video on how to plan a vacation, and basically based on where you're staying, you may want to book the cheapest accommodation, but sometimes it's not always the best. Sometimes, depending on the distance from where it is to mainly where you will be. But I use booking.com and Google Maps to see if it makes sense. Booking.com does have the map feature, but I also use Google Maps to see the public transportation options to see like if it makes sense. Another thing is that some of the cheapest accommodations that you would find would be hostels. I personally have never stayed in a hostel, but I've heard experiences of persons who have, and it was not a bad experience. And even looking around in some of the hostels that I see here, specifically in Milan, it looks like a cool vibe. But look at your reviews. If you're looking at a cheaper option, you're not going to stay long. You mightn't have a lot of valuables. You don't mind a shared bathroom. You don't mind a shared sleeping space. That is something that you can look into. Actually, you know what? I think I will try to stay a night in a hostel just to experience it. Comment below hashtag hostel experience if you want me to stay in a hostel to see how the experience was. Wait, I missed a step. We need to pack. Before you get here, you need to bring your belongings. Now, what I would say is to pack smart. I know we see all these travel influencers packing their bags and they have an outfit, 3 outfits for one day. Yo, let me tell you something. Especially if you're doing solo travel, you are going to get frustrated. A lot of stations, especially if you're doing a public transport route, some stations don't have elevators or escalators. So if you have your checked luggage, your carry-on, and your personal bag, it will be you alone with these 3 bags navigating the public transport system, cobblestone roads, and crowded streets. It will be a recipe for stress and frustration. Now, it will be great memories to look back and laugh at, but in the moment, it will not feel funny at all. As much as possible, try to pack light. If you could do a carry-on and a personal bag, perfect. If you could do a backpack and a personal bag, even better. It's just going to make life a lot easier. Also, depending on the type of trip that you want to do. So if you know you plan to move around, you want to see different countries, you'll be taking trains, etc. It'll just make life easier. If you're going to be staying in one place, it's fine. Or if you have somebody with you who'll be carrying your bag, better yet. But just make sure to pack smart, especially how you'll be moving around. Just note, if you're going to be struggling in the airport with it, it's going to be even worse struggling in these streets. Also, on the topic of packing smart, check the weather for the time that you'll be visiting. Guys, it's not the tropics. Even in the summer, it's not the tropics. The heat here is different. There is no Caribbean breeze. When it's hot, it's hot. The sun is hot, the air is hot, and there's no breeze. If you're visiting in another season, be mindful that the temperatures fluctuate and it's not by 2 or 4 degrees that we're accustomed to. So during the day, it may be, let's say 27. At night, it could be 12, and then depending on the time of the year, the chill feels different. So be sure to, if you need to walk with a light jacket or things that you may need to layer with, just be mindful of the temperature. Also, if you plan to visit different countries within Europe, again, don't just check the temperature for one country. Check the temperature for different countries, because depending on where the country is related, the temperature will vary drastically. So let's just say you're going to Amsterdam and you'll also be in Spain. In Amsterdam, it's going to be a lot colder than it will be in Spain. Spain will be warmer, Amsterdam will be colder. Also, even within the same country, the temperatures could fluctuate a lot. If you're going to be in the north of Italy, it's going to be a lot colder than if you go to the south of Italy, where it will be a little warmer. Be mindful, be sure to check the temperature. You may think, hey, I'm going to Europe, I want to see as much as possible, I'm going to go everywhere and fit everything in. Guys, it's much bigger than it seems on the map. It takes, from Milan to Rome, it takes like 3.5 hours on a high-speed train that goes between 250 to 300 kilometers per hour. Previously, that journey could take 6 or more hours. To get to the south of Italy, it actually takes 12 hours from Milan. So within the country itself, there's a lot to see. Just be mindful of the itinerary that you want to plan. And if you want to see more, pick and choose what you want to see in a particular country to see what's more important to you. There are some countries you could do in a day. There are some places that you could do 2 or 3 days. What I like to do is I would use Google Maps and I would save all the places that I am interested in seeing. Then I'm going to take a look at the map and see the distance, look at the transportation options between to see if it's feasible. If the majority of the things I want to see is in this particular area, then I'll stay here. So there will be some compromises, some opportunity costs. But yeah, and also you can also Google, same way that you found this video. Google persons have created itineraries, 1-day itineraries, 2-day, 3-day, to give you a gauge on what you can do and what is possible. Finally, some last tips or tricks. I think I mentioned it in the video, my top travel apps for Europe. Check out that video to see the apps that I recommend that you have if you're planning your trip to Europe. That is going to come in handy. And there you have it. I really hope that this video was informative and helps you plan your trip to Europe. If you do need any help, feel free to reach out to me on the contact form on this triniworldtravel.com, and let's get you on your trip to Europe. Don't forget to hit the like button if the video was informative, if it wasn't helpful, if it has inspired you to really start planning your trip to Europe. And until next time, safe travels.